Most investors spend their time chasing what's already popular: big tech, AI hype, and stocks that dominate headlines every single day. But if you study market history closely, you'll notice something important. The strongest returns usually come from sectors that are ignored before they become obvious. By the time everyone is talking about them, the biggest opportunity is already gone. In today's video, we're uncovering 7 underrated sectors that are quietly positioning themselves to outperform across the US, UK, and Canadian markets. These are not speculative trends. These are long-term structural shifts that smart money is already paying attention to. Let's start with industrial automation and robotics. Across developed economies, companies are facing rising labor costs, skill shortages, and pressure to improve productivity. Instead of hiring more workers, businesses are investing in machines, robotics, and smart manufacturing systems. This trend is accelerating in the United States due to government incentives aimed at bringing manufacturing back home. Automation is no longer optional. It's becoming essential for competitiveness. What makes this sector underrated is that it doesn't feel exciting to retail investors, but behind the scenes, demand is growing steadily and consistently. Next comes defense and aerospace infrastructure. Many people think of defense as a short-term trade driven by global conflicts, but the reality is very different. Defense spending in the US, UK, and Canada is now a long-term strategic commitment. Governments are signing multi-year contracts focused on advanced systems like drones, cybersecurity defense, satellites, and space technology. These companies benefit from predictable cash flows and long-term government backing, which makes them more resilient during economic uncertainty. While investors chase growth stocks, defense infrastructure quietly compounds in the background. Another overlooked opportunity lies in energy infrastructure and grid modernization. The global focus on renewable energy often steals attention, but without modern infrastructure, clean energy simply cannot scale. Power grids in North America and the UK are outdated and struggling to handle electric vehicles, AI data centers, and rising electricity demand. Massive investment is required to upgrade transmission lines, transformers, and energy storage systems. This spending is not optional, it's unavoidable. Companies involved in grid modernization are positioned at the center of this transformation, yet many remain undervalued compared to trendier energy names. Healthcare services and medical infrastructure represent another powerful but underestimated sector. While biotech stocks can be volatile and speculative, healthcare services focus on consistency and long-term demand. Aging populations in developed countries are increasing the need for diagnostics, outpatient care, medical equipment, maintenance, and healthcare management systems. These businesses generate recurring revenue and are less sensitive to market cycles. As public healthcare systems face pressure, private and hybrid healthcare providers are stepping in, creating stable growth opportunities that many investors overlook. Cybersecurity and digital identity is a sector that feels obvious yet remains underrated when you look beyond the biggest names. As governments, banks, hospitals, and energy systems become more digital, cyber threats are rising rapidly. New regulations are forcing organizations to spend more on security, compliance, and identity verification. Smaller cybersecurity companies focused on infrastructure protection and cloud security are benefiting from long-term contracts and high switching costs. In a digital economy, security becomes just as important as growth, making this sector a long-term winner. One of the most ignored sectors in the market is water infrastructure and management. Water systems across the US, Canada, and the UK are aging, inefficient, and increasingly vulnerable to climate pressures. Governments are being forced to invest in water treatment, filtration, smart meters, and pipeline upgrades. This sector doesn't depend on economic growth or consumer spending. People always need water. That makes it defensive, essential, and quietly powerful. Historically, these types of infrastructure investments deliver steady returns over time with lower volatility. Finally, let's talk about specialized financial services and fintech infrastructure. Not flashy consumer apps, but the systems that power modern finance behind the scenes. Payment processing, regulatory compliance software, cross-border settlement platforms, and financial data services are becoming critical as financial systems grow more complex. Banks and institutions are investing heavily in efficiency and compliance, creating long-term demand for these services. Many of these companies operate quietly, but they benefit directly from the digital transformation of global finance. When you step back and look at these 7 sectors together, a clear pattern emerges. They are supported by long-term forces like demographics, government spending, technological necessity, and infrastructure renewal. These are not trends that disappear overnight. They develop slowly, quietly, and then suddenly become essential. The biggest investing mistake isn't choosing the wrong sector. It's waiting until everyone else notices. Smart investors don't chase excitement. They position early in what's inevitable. If you want to stay ahead of the next market cycle in the US, UK, and Canadian markets, start paying attention to what's being built quietly in the background. Because tomorrow's market leaders are already forming today.